Welcome to Stories in Time. My name's Ellouise Schoettler. I'm your storyteller. When I rode over to the station this morning, the skies are bright, the sun is shining, but there's nippiness of fall in the air. There are a few pumpkins out on doorsteps, and you know that Halloween is coming. Isn't that exciting? The kids get excited. They begin thinking about their costumes. Maybe you begin thinking about what you're going to fix, what you're going to give out when the kids stop by. Maybe you remember how it was at Halloween when you were getting ready for trick-or-treat. When I was getting ready for trick-or-treat, we didn't buy our costumes. My parents didn't really have the money to go and buy the ones that were up on the high shelves at Woolworths or Cress's. We made them. A gypsy skirt, a blouse, a paper bag over your head with holes in it. Boys like to be pirates with baggy pants and shirts and a big wide belt. And everybody had a goodie bag. A goodie bag could be anywhere from a decorated paper bag to a pillowcase. Do you remember that? It was so casual, so at home. Everything was at home, at least where I was. You knew that you were going to run out to the houses in your neighborhood. Nobody worried about that in those days. Sometimes my aunt had a party at her house. They had a big backyard, and we had a lot of cousins and other neighborhood friends, and we'd go down to Aunt Betty's and Uncle Jeannie's, and they'd build a bonfire in the backyard. We'd sit around, and he would have straightened out long metal coat hangers, and we'd skewer hot dogs on them. And the parents would all be standing around to watch to make sure we didn't burn ourselves up as we stood there and held those hot dogs to roast them in the fire. And later, marshmallows. Do you remember marshmallows roasted in a fire like that? Where when you took them back, you had to be careful. They'd be so blackened and hot that they'd burn your lips, and they certainly were dripping all over you. The big thing was ducking for apples, bobbing for apples. A tub of water, big wash tub water. And on the top of it were red apples bobbing on the top of the water. And you duck your head down and try to get your mouth and bite down onto an apple. Wet, messy, and fun. And afterwards, we knew the neighborhood pretty well. My aunt had lived there for a long, long time, knew all the neighbors. She probably had told the neighbors that she was going to give out slips of paper for a scavenger hunt. Yes, a scavenger hunt. And we would read the list. And the purpose of it, if you remember, was to knock on doors and ask them if they had silly things. And the one that got back with the most of those things on the list was the winner of a prize. It could be white thread and a needle, a movie ticket, a used, torn movie ticket, things that might be stuck in the bottom of somebody's pocketbook. But what I remember most about that was how friendly the neighbors, the grown-ups were, and how they opened the door and they knew you were coming, and they would actually stop, take time, and go hunt up whatever it was that you needed that they might have so you could win. It was a warm and friendly time for kids. Really a warm and friendly time. I hope that children are experiencing that today, but I don't want to say anything about that. I just want to remember what was a lovely time in my childhood. I hope in yours too. And there were always stories. We would come back to Aunt Betty's and Uncle Jeannie's, and we'd sit around that bonfire, which had sort of mellowed down. Now we're getting into the serious business of the evening, and it was time for the ghost stories. My family loved to tell ghost stories. They loved to sit around a fire and tell ghost stories. I guess that's why I still like to tell them. But I don't like the really, really scary ones. That's not the kind I like. I like the ones that you ask people, have you ever seen a ghost? Did you ever have a ghost come near you? And you know what? They'll tell you they did. That's the kind of stories I like. The real ones. They don't scare you. They just set you to thinking. Not long ago, I was on the phone with a craft woman who made crafts up in the mountains in Virginia. And it was about this time of the year, and I was thinking about telling ghost stories for a program. And we got to talking, and after we did our business, I asked her, do you have any ghost stories up there in your part of those hills? Is there anything y'all talk about or tell each other about? Well, she was quiet. You know, that kind of quiet when you know that somebody's got something they want to say, but they're not sure they're going to say it. Do you have a ghost story? I think I do. Tell me, tell me. All right, I think I will. I haven't told anybody. It happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I took a truck to take some artwork down to Atlanta. Artwork that belonged to my partner. He had just died. Oh, Ellouise, I've been so sad. I've been just carried away with the grief of it. And now I have to get rid of all of his artwork. Well, that's another story. I took it down to Atlanta to an art dealer. I was feeling so bad, so sad. And as I drove back, I came back at night after I left the artwork, and I was coming up these hills, and it was dark. There wasn't a star in the sky, and the moon wasn't out. And there was a light fog on the road. I could see it in my headlights. Trees on each side of the road. It was like riding through a black tunnel. Very scary, and it began to make me nervous. And I'd speed, there wasn't another car on the road, and I'd speed up, and then I'd brake back. Don't be foolish. You don't know this road, be careful, be careful. And then all of a sudden, sput, 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 you know that awful sound a car or a truck makes when it's getting ready to stop? And it did. The motor just stopped, and I drifted over, just coasted. I had been on a little down incline and just coasted over to the side of the road. And I couldn't get it started again. It wouldn't start, and there I was sitting on the side of this road in the black dark, in a black tunnel, and there was nobody coming and nobody going. I didn't know how I was going to get out of there. And I was in such a shaky state anyway that I started just shaking all over. I was so scared. When all of a sudden, I saw blue lights on the top of a car or truck coming toward me. Those blinking blue lights pulled up right behind me. I didn't hear anything, but all of a sudden, standing right beside me, the truck tapping on the window, it's a man. He had on a uniform. I let down the window. What's wrong, lady? I looked over. He had a name tag on his shirt. Officer Moore, it said. Oh, Albert, I'm so grateful. It's wonderful that you've come. It stopped. I don't know what's happened. Did you look at the gas gauge, lady? I looked over. Empty. bottomed out, empty. Oh no, what am I going to do? There's nobody up here. There's nobody that's going to help me. I have no gas. I want to go home. I'll go. I'll get some. I'll send somebody back to help you. He was just gone. He was gone. And so were the blue lights. I didn't even see them when they left. And I rolled up the windows and I locked the cab and I just sat there. I don't know how long it was. It didn't seem too long. When another truck pulled up behind me, a yellow light was spinning on the top of the roof, this cab. And a man came over and knocked. What's the matter? You stopped. What's the trouble? I noticed you here. Oh, he sent you. Officer Moore sent you. Have you got gas? Yes, I've got gas. I'm a tow truck. You're a tow truck. I think I'm out of gas. I can't move. I don't know where I'm going to go. Can you give me some of your... Yes, I'll give you enough gas. Did Officer Moore send you? Officer Moore? I ain't never heard of any Officer Moore, lady. What are you talking about? Officer Moore, he stopped by my cab. He knew that I was out of gas, and he said he would go and he would get somebody, so I just assumed that you were the somebody. I don't know any Officer Moore that's an officer up in these parts, and I know them all. Nah, we don't have any Officer Moore up here. He went back and fiddled with the gas tank, and he gave me 5 gallons of gas. Start her up. Turned the key, hit the gas, and it hummed right to life. Be safe. And I drove away. Down that dark road, I drove away till I could find a gas station. Ellouise, I don't know who that was, that Officer Moore. It was the strangest thing. When I stopped at the gas station, they'd never heard of an Officer Moore. They didn't know anybody, and nobody had stopped there to send a tow truck. I can't figure out, who was it? I couldn't help myself. Joan, you know who that was. You know who it was. Do you think so? Do you think that could be the truth? That it's Joe? And he's still out there looking out for me? What do you think? That's what I like to think. That's my story for today. Thank you for coming. And if you like more stories, come to Friendship Village Community Center, the 3rd Wednesday of the month, 7:30. More storytelling from many different storytellers, free to you.